All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to 2023.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is a agenda review for our meeting that'll be held on January 9th. If I could get a roll call, please, from City Clerk.
Commissioner Mercer,
Here.
Commissioner Yates,
Here.
Commissioner Powell,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Birdsong,
Here.
and Mayor Danz.
Here. All present and accounted for. So it looks like all of the presentations are going to be held Monday night. Arbor Day, Certified Public Managers, Trail Town Designation, and Martin Luther King Proclamation.
And Mayor, one of the things I'm going to suggest that we do for Monday, we'll reorganize those a bit so that they are, the proclamations are together and the presentations are together. So you are not up and down quite as much. So
Good. Thank you.
we'll start with the proclamations and finish, or start with the presentations and finish with the proclamations, although the MLK celebration content from Natalie Wilson will come after that MLK proclamation, so we can give you an update on all the festivities that are going to be occurring over the next week and several days.
Okay, reorganization of the city commission. We've done that before. Liaison reassignments. You guys want to talk about that at all, or you want to basically leave things the way they are? Does anybody have anything?
Rather leave everything the way they are.
Anybody want to talk about it at all, or?
I'm good with whatever.
Okay,
Me too.
well, Vanessa, you'll give everybody a sheet, right? We can sign up or check the box, and that when we done it in the past,
For the-
commission reassignment.
Yeah, those are all
I mean, for
printed.
the liaison,
Yeah, those are all printed and ready to go.
ready to go. Maybe we can get those early. Email those to us just so we have a couple days to look at them again.
Okay,
Can you email them to us?
sure.
Okay. Consent agenda, T. Michael's traveling. Birdsong's traveling, Agreement for the Polk County Property Appraiser Placement Code Compliance, non-ad valorem taxes. Anybody have any questions on 11D? We've done this before.
Same thing.
Same thing, we've done this for a number of years. This is just, our liens being signed, collected through, non-ad valorem special assessments.
Resolution is a request.
Mayor,
Oh,
I
yeah.
just want you all to know, since we never really discussed them, but the two items, two places, conferences that I'm traveling, the 11B. That's as a result of being appointed annually by the TPO board. So that's nothing that we have to do. As a representative to you on the TPO board, then that TPO board appoint a representative for this particular board. And so that's how I'm there. And then the 11C, the Central Florida Regional Planning Council, I'm your representative there. And they appoint a representative, that board appoints a representative for the state organization. And so I represent the Central Florida Regional Planning Council on that state agency. So that's just to give you an idea of, it's not that I'll be looking for places. So
We know.
the one thing that y'all know about me is that I try to represent you all very well.
You do.
You-
You've been doing this for a long time.
And you travel very classy, as I recall.
I just want y'all to know, that that's.
And he does have a good frequent flyer number too.
No, this is driving all these places, man.
Hilton cars, what I meant to say. Okay, on the resolution R 2301, Spring Lake Capital.
This is just an easement vacation up by what used to be Flordino's, the one that had burned down there on North 17. So you see, if you've driven that area, there's some development that's happening just to the south of there. My understanding is the medical clinic that's going into that property on Lake Spring. So this is just the vacation of an old easement there.
They've already started a lot of construction there. It looks
They
like,
have, they have.
when you're saying it's medical,
My understanding is the medical offices, but I'm not familiar with who it is that's going in there or what specific services.
Do we not need the overflow line anymore?
No, it's, as I understand it, that they, Spring Lake Capital, according to the fact sheet, had arranged for the relocation and abandonment of all the utilities within that easement. And then as well, the Tico, Frontier, Central Florida Gas, and Spectrum were all notified on this as well. So we're all good.
ordinance first reading, looks like 13A and 13B are companions.
That is correct. This is David Holden on behalf of Jerry Carter, signing residential low density, future land use and multifamily residential low density. Some parcels that are out off of 35th Street Northwest. So this is the Lake Deer is, if you look at the screen, Lake Deer is the body of water that you see there. So this is going to be just off a record highway. Plan to develop a portion of the property with residential as part of a larger residential development. Two of the parcels provide connection to 35th Street Northwest, which you see that long linear red section there. That's what the connection point into this development would be. The main parcel will be divided and the owner will retain the northern portion where the single family residence is located. Maximum density of 10 dwelling units per acre is allowed with the R3 zoning district. Theoretically, you could put 73 units on there. However, staff has determined that when you factor in internal roadways and lot sizes, retention and the like, achieving the maximum theoretical density is typically not possible.
What's that building that's in the big red?
That is the single family residential, as I understand it, that is noted within the fact sheet. Eric, can you confirm that?
Yes, sir. That's a single family residential. They're gonna split that lot. If you see the first parcel in that subdivision, about halfway, in that red box, that's where they're gonna divide the parcel. And so the northern part will be a large single family lot and they'll retain the southern piece for this project.
So Eric, are the people that are that are doing the parcel in the red, are they connected with the subdivision? So they can have an ingress and egress, or they're gonna have to come in or off?
It's not gonna go through the subdivision. It's gonna come through that red line that goes out to 35th Street Northwest.
That'll be like a service road almost, or
It's a long access drive.
Long access drive.
access drive?
Yes, sir.
Will it be paved?
Yes,
For 10 houses, it would have to be, I guess.
yes.
Are any of those houses built out there? I haven't been out there in a long time on that subdivision. Black, It's completely built out? Okay. This is an old photo, I guess.
And if you look at, I guess it's Black Skimmer Lane where it tucks back in and looks like it would tie into this red box. It looks like that lot that is in the south, the far corner of it, it actually dead ends to their driveway. It looks like it doesn't actually go through to make a connection.
So there will be ingress and egress there, or there won't be?
Not-
There will not be.
Not, it'll just be on that red box that you see.
And we've had this applicant,
Highlight that. No,
the red,
long-
there you
that
go.
piece. So that's where their driveway will come in, Mayor, off of 35th Street.
But if you go up just a little bit to that little teeny tiny box, right, right
Yeah.
there
In the center.
in the center,
Lines.
nope, a little to the right,
At the end of the street.
right there,
Go
straight up, right there.
That's actually, it appears to be a part of that end parcel. I don't think that
Yeah, the roadway connection doesn't go through.
doesn't go through.
That's where I was trying to figure out if they were gonna be able to connect that, but you're saying they can't.
No, this will be developed. We've actually hit, this applicant has come to DRC for DRC review. This parcel will be developed as in conjunction with the larger parcel to the east as part of the overall project.
So there'll be more on the east?
See, the vacant land that's to the east of the red box,
Yeah,
this parcel will be developed in conjunction with that one as part of a residential project.
same owner, just doing it two different phases, or it's,
It'll likely be all in one phase. It was two separate property owners at one point, and they purchased this one and recently annexed it into the city. The other piece is already in the city and zoned R3, the same as the request by this applicant.
so Eric, do we give up any kind of ability to do a PUD on, since we're cutting the parcel in half, or we control more what's going out there, or?
Now, the request is for straight R3 zoning, which is a residential zoning district.
But if
Which
it's gonna
is-
be connected to the other parcel,
Correct. It'll be developed all in one project. That happens all the time where multiple parcels are part of one overall project. It's not a
not a
problem.
PUD.
Yeah, it's not a problem.
Eric, is that parcel that's to the east, is that already R3?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. And that's 13A and 13B.
Yes, sir. 13
C.
C and D, this is Jackson 3 LLC. It's asking for commercial future land use and commercial highway C3 zoning on an annexed parcel. This is at the corner, the intersection of Eagle Lake Loop Road, Eagle Lake, or Eloise Loop Road and Pollard Road. It was annexed in the city in September of this year, and their intention is to develop this with personal storage. And as you can see, to the southeast on the corner of Pollard Road, we already have some personal storage there as well. This was, went for the Planning Commission December 6th. They had one member that spoke at that meeting, and they did not object to the proposed development.
Eric, on these storage units, the one they did up there was very nice. It looks, is that kind of the code now? Is that they're all gonna look like that, or is that just that particular one did it that way?
Well, yes, and in particular, personal storage units are a special use in the C3 zoning district, which is the request here. So that will have to go to the Planning Commission for approval for the personal storage units after the zoning is assigned. So we will have the ability to apply conditions to the special use if they're appropriate. And it is the same developer as the personal storage units on the.
Oh, it is.
Yes, sir.
So it's conceivable they'll look the same.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the other ones were pretty enough for the neighborhood. Okay, that was 13C and D. Brian, you have something?
I was just to say, I mean, my concern on that is that, you know, it's abutting to those residential homes, and I've heard the argument up here before that we didn't want to, and this was pre me being up here, but we didn't really want to do something like that and put commercial abutting residential homes. So I mean, it just seems to me like that's pretty close to the residential homes there.
is my concern.
Yeah, if you notice the personal storage on the opposite corner, they've aligned the buildings so that the buildings actually provide a buffer to the single family residential that are on the east side of that project. And so there's a landscape buffer present, separation, and then they align the buildings to provide an additional buffer between the interior of the project and a single family. And we would suspect that this would be the same. We have the ability to condition that in this project as well.
I guess at the end of the day, if nobody's coming to knock on the door or nobody's complaining, but as long as we're doing the proper public notices out there to make everyone aware that that's what's coming, I mean,
Commissioner Yates, I do recall when we did the one on the southeast side there. That was the vacant lot for many, many years. And we had a lot of discussion with the residents in the subdivision due east of that. Lengthy discussion with them. And that's what I believe led to the way that the buildings are oriented, the buffer yard, the conditions that created some mitigation for their concerns. And I can't confirm this or deny it, but I would speculate that how that project turned out, and when you see it firsthand, that may be why there's, no opposition on this one going across the street with it being the same developer.
which concerns me is it took discussion to get this one set up this way. And if there's no discussion happening on this one, it could be set up once the zoning's set. I mean, it can be set up however they want, right? You know,
No.
The special.
It
condition or
requires the special use review and approval by the planning commission. It's the same process essentially, that the one on the southeast side, that it was, there's the public notice is through the zoning process and the special use process. Oddly enough, I was the applicant's representative many, many years ago on the project on the southeast side when I was working in the private sector. So I remember those hearings well. And
So I
we,
think what we're saying is that in that special use process, that is again noticed out. There's planning commission hearing for that. And you're announcing very clearly that this is what's coming in to bring, and that if there are residential property owners around there that have an interest in that and a concern, that's their opportunity to come in and speak to what's specifically going in within what's already been zoned.
and I assume our planning is gonna set that up the best way that we feel it should be set up on that parcel.
To mitigate concerns.
Yeah. We're the advocate for the homeowners around that parcel is what I'm saying.
yes, sir. For the city at large, yes, sir.
Okay. 13E. Administrative request to amend the capital improvement element of the comp plan. E,
Yeah, the Florida statutes requires governments to adopt a 5-year schedule of capital improvements as part of your comp plan. So this update includes fiscal years 22, 23, which is the current one we're in, through 2026, 2027. The schedule consists of items identified in the capital improvement program portion of our operating budget, to implement specific objectives and policies contained in the comp plan and those future projects for which grant funding will be pursued. Total current capital spending for the proposed 5-year schedule is approximately $377 million. Funding is provided from a combination general and enterprise funds, impact fees, grants, bond revenues, loans, state and county revenue sharing, and private contributions. It also formally adopts by reference the current 5-year FDOT work program, the Polk County 5-year transportation work program, and the 5-year work program adopted by the school board. Adding those programs is necessary to fully implement the city's concurrency management system. So this is something we do on a routine basis, just updating our CIP for the comp plan.
okay, commissioners, questions, comments on the update of the comp plan, okay? Last one is 13F, voluntary annexation of a parcel on Old Bartow Lake Wheels Road.
Yeah, AJ, if you could go to the image on this one, this is one that a lot of people may not be familiar with. Petitioner Winter Lake PHLP is requesting annexation of this parcel totaling 65.92 acres. It's located south and west of Old Bartow Lake Wales Road and east of Waters Road near Whidden Cemetery Road, and they're seeking annexation for the purpose of developing the subject property. what you see in gray there, the vast majority of that is the B and B Ranch property that it's under construction now. You also have that box right next to where the arrow is the future school site that is under construction right now in Polk County Schools. Current taxable value on the subject property is $92,185. Based upon current millage, tax revenues will be just a little over $600 until it's further developed.
Trying to figure out exactly where that is.
If you came down 653 past Lake Ashton and stayed on that until it made a hard left
Yep.
and go that direction, you're headed eastbound, it's gonna be on the south side of the road. You're gonna cross over the Peace Creek drainage ditch that's through there.
And that's in the city limits, huh?
Well, it will be.
I mean, we've got that much reach.
Yeah, what you see in gray is annexations that we've done in recent years. And like I said, that down where Old Bartow Lake Wales Road ties into 653. That's, right there's where that school's under construction. B and B Ranch is under construction now. They're putting in a roundabout at that point.
Where's the existing school, the Chain Lake? Elementary?
It's gonna be a ways north of this.
Okay.
So if you just drive up a little bit to where it says Highway 653, give you an example, that is the south end of Lake Ashton. So you would have to go a fair ways north of that, about half a mile or 3/4 of a mile, and you'd hit Chain Lake Elementary.
The land that is in the city limits off of 60 is further west or further east, isn't it?
Further west.
Further west?
West, yeah, it's gonna be due south of, it's like Logistics Parkway.
Okay, all right. That's further west on the map.
What's the rectangle just to the,
Rectangle.
just to the north of the red box? Like,
That is unincorporated area of that.
no, left,
A little small one.
This
down.
is unincorporated area
Right
right
there.
there.
So I mean, are we boxing that?
No, those are, this annexation is configured specifically to allow for it to comply with 171.044, so as not to create the enclaves. So
So there's access to that
there's
box.
access to that acceptance.
What is that box? Just out of curiosity.
Those are homes, or not unincorporated area, I don't know if they're homes or not. I can't tell by this map.
I think it's vacant property. I'm not
Maybe
sure.
they- But it's in the unincorporated area.
So Eric, will we have to apply zoning and all that, or
That's the next step. Yes.
you know if this is gonna be a big subdivision again, or what are you thinking?
I haven't spoken specifically with staff about it, but I believe it would be single family residential is the intent.
Okay,
I don't think you could put that.
It's, let's say 65 acres, 60 plus acres.
it's a pretty decent sized parcel.
Yes, almost 66 acres. That's a pretty good size.
Is it pretty high and dry, or is it wet?
Couldn't tell you.
Okay,
Grove.
it's a grove. Another one bites the dust. All right, new business 14A. Approval and authorization of loan documents for Florida Place.
So back in August of 21, City Commission authorized a local contribution of $460,000 to Blue Sky Communities LLC for the development of 88 affordable housing units at the corner of First Street North and Avenue S Northwest. This will be known as Florence Place. So this is behind the AutoZone on North First Street. Developer had applied for and was awarded low-income housing tax credits by the Florida Housing Corporation, and then it secured additional funding in the form of a first mortgage and home funds contribution from Polk County. They have received site plan and building permit approval from the city, so this is a promissory note, subaward loan agreement, and a mortgage that have been prepared consistent with our previous approved local contribution and related term sheet and Florida Housing Finance Corporation LIHTC regulations. This is a 0% loan payable upon expiration or default. It is forgivable upon written consent of the city. It's an 18-year term. The amount again, $460,000. We are third position with respect to this loan, and we have budgeted this within our Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So this is something we had been planning to do, and we're now at the point of moving forward. The County Commission, and I don't know if they met this week or if it's in their, a meeting to come in the next week or so, does have on their agenda as well, a contribution, I believe, of $2 million that will go towards this project as well. And that's what's referenced as the home funds contribution.
Do we have any kind of time frame on this, T?
Eric, I'll defer to you on that.
I believe that they're closing, first part of this month is their scheduled closing.
Actually, I spoke to the borrowers, Blue Winter Haven's attorney this afternoon, Nick Heckman, with the with the law firm in Orlando. And the closing is scheduled for January the 11th. And they have, I believe South State Bank is the construction lender. JP Chase Morgan is the permanent lender in a couple years, once the project is completed. As the city manager said, the county is contributing through its neighborhood partnership. It's an entity the county contracts with for $2 million, and then the city's in third place with 460,000. We're sorting out some of the details of a subordination agreement or agreements that will also have to be executed as part of this transaction. And by approving these matters, you're also authorizing the subordination agreements that are acceptable as to formed as to the city manager and myself. So, but I think the closing is going to occur on the 11th of January, from what I'm told this afternoon.
And then when do we break ground
I
and
did-
start seeing?
I did see a notice of commencement of construction that was circulated today in an email for review. So I believe that they intend to file that immediately after closing and get to work.
Get going. Okay, good news.
We if we have knowledge of a groundbreaking ceremonial event, we'll certainly make sure the commission is apprised of that, so you can be in attendance.
Has it always been 88 units? I thought it was more.
The zoning allowed for a little bit more, but just the way the site configured,
Okay.
it was identified for 88 fairly early on.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's good news. First Amendment to Agreement for Sale and Purchase. This is item 14B.
So this is the Onyx Taylor Hospitality Project. If you recall, back in August of this year, the commission had approved a sale and purchase agreement with Onyx for the parking lot that is at the corner of Third Street Southwest and Avenue A that you can see on the screen there. Purchase price was $220,000, and the city-owned parcel contains 9,902 square feet. Once that property was surveyed, LLC and the city staff concurred that the purchase of only 8,502 square feet of the property was necessary to facilitate their project and appropriate to facilitate our ongoing maintenance of city-owned on-street parking spaces along Avenue A. So what was originally included was everything in that red box, and now it's reduced to what is within the yellow box. So we will maintain full ownership and maintenance responsibilities for those angled parking spaces on Avenue A.
And the pavers.
And the pavered sidewalk as well. It represents a reduction of 14.14% in area. So as such, this amendment reduces the purchase price from $220,000 to $188,892.
It's already done, right? Or it's,
Not yet.
when are we closing on that?
That closing, I believe, is supposed to be around January 18th or thereabouts. So
Do we have a clawback on this piece? So if the project doesn't move forward, do we have first right of refusal to buy it back at
We
the
do
same
not.
price?
we do not.
Is it too late to put that in there?
I mean, it's up to the commission as to how they wish to do it, but I have not had any conversation with either the David Alexander, who's the attorney for the buyer. I don't know whether it is or not. If we're going to do it, we need to do it by Monday.
I
Um,
think, John, you and I talked about this a couple of times about having the right to park on here.
We are.
Until they actually
that-
break ground.
And that remains, and we are actually going to accomplish that. So we will be able to continue to, pardon me,
You'll still have the right to use it.
we will still have the right to use it. We will
Well,
not own it.
Let me clarify, because I think JP's asking a different question in his comment. What's in yellow, we will retain use of until it cannot be used because of construction activity. What is outside the yellow, we will retain permanent ownership of.
Right.
And use as public realm and domain and as we need to.
That's going to be the entrance of the hotel where they park. I mean, they're gonna be in that where they're gonna come in and they're gonna put like a circular drive there or something, or?
No, that was an earlier,
Off of Third Street.
they're coming in off of Third Street. That was an earlier version. The drop off and pickup area is
Right.
along Third Street.
They did originally, Mayor, have a porte cochere that was on that
Right.
south end. That
That's
got
not the way it is
modified.
anymore.
No, in the more recent renderings that have been presented to us and plans,
Building plans.
approved building plans, it's, their entrance is about mid-block on Third Street.
When will we see the current?
We have asked that Jeff Donaldson and the representatives of Onyx Taylor be here Monday night. I believe that they will, so we can get full updates from them. I don't want to speak on their behalf with respect to their project. I'm certainly not as well versed on that as they would be. But as far as, we have their designs and we presented those, I think, in this meeting, different times, and certainly to the CRA board. But as far as updates on what their progress is and where they stand to get underway, we'll have that Monday night.
You know, quite frankly, I concur with Brian. I think we should. Because what's gonna happen, those spaces that we're retaining there on the red line, those are ultimately gonna be parked, all the hotel people are gonna be parking there unless we post it and monitor it and all that stuff. That's gonna be just parking spaces for the hotel. Hopefully. I do think we should have some sort of,
Well, actually, that's why we entered into the parking lease for 114 spots.
I know, but I mean, employees or delivery or, you know, I can just see that because it's so
Well,
close to the
if
hotel. I
We
can see
we
that.
can
being
also
used.
put in some conditions with that parking there. We can designate that as 2-hour parking.
I think the 2 hour parking
Take care of some of that.
fixes that, but my concern is this project. And not to throw a monkey wrench in it at the last minute here, we probably should have talked about this earlier, you know, when we were working on the contract initially, but my concern is this project doesn't go through. It just, I think, for the citizens' benefit of, this is citizen land here. And if it didn't go through as been proposed, then we should have the right to bring this back into the portfolio of ownership of the city of Winter Haven at the same price we're selling it at. This is my thought.
We did have that conversation and it was decided by the commission that the 188, at the time, $220,000 cash that we would get would satisfy that, that objective.
I agree, but if it doesn't go through, we want to buy it back.
Yeah,
No, I understand that. We had that conversation about putting a potential reverter. And it was decided that we wouldn't do that, that we would move forward as long as we had the use of the parking while it was, you know, not yet under construction. And
Theoretically, if it doesn't go through, we can still park there. So,
Well, and I would offer this, commissioners, is that, so if it doesn't go through, if the project doesn't go through, at whatever phase, pre-demolition, post-demolition, does the property become more attractive for another developer with this included within it? Or separate from it? If we have first rights of refusal on reacquiring it, should that be the case, then we part with the $180,000 that we took in. I would assume that the reverter would be the same value.
yeah.
But, you know, when we looked at it from staff's perspective, if you got to the point of, let's say you got to even demoing out all the buildings that were there except for the Taylor, which can't be demoed out, and you have, if something were to happen with the project that doesn't move forward, does the whole site become more appealing for another developer with that included within it?
well, it doesn't mean we have to exercise the right to buy it back, but, you know, I think it protects the city's interest in this property, and our intent in selling it to Onyx Hotel Group is to develop a jewel in downtown Winter Haven. And if that jewel doesn't happen, then I think we should have the right and option to buy that piece back.
I concur. So, John, you probably don't want to deal with that. I think we should.
I'm fine with dealing with it
I
if that's
think
what
we-
y'all want. But I mean, we did have that,
Buy it back, whatever we pay for it, whenever.
yeah,
If they
I'm,
ever go to sell it, if they don't ever go to sell it, they're gonna. But if they ever go to sell the project,
And they're saying this project's going through. So I mean, it shouldn't be an issue. So
We-
So
we'll
is
have-
it
yeah.
a consensus to put in a first right of refusal on acquisition if the project doesn't go through.
I mean, is there a time period on which,
Which really, for me, where I looked at it is that, okay. If they don't, let's just say that it hypothetically falls through. And, so the Taylor Group are not able to build a hotel. But then maybe there would be another potential. They may want to sell it to another potential developer, so that property being there would just.
But that gives us the option to look at what else is gonna go in there.
Well, we'll have that anyway.
right,
We'll
from
have
the,
that option anyway.
from the development review process,
From
that's,
the,
yeah.
so. All I'm saying is, I don't know, this is this is all I'm saying. We've been waiting on them to try to get to this point for a long time. And I don't want to do anything at this point, because that's, you know, parking lot. So I'm just saying, if this goes slowing down, my question to you, John, is if we want to put that in there, is that going to slow the
Good.
process down?
It could. I don't know what their response will be.
And that's what I'm saying.
They've already planned on moving forward and,
I
So I
don't
don't-
want us to do anything at this point to slow them down. Not over,
I mean, I'll take
I
the
mean, that's just,
direction,
that's just my.
but it could, to answer your
that's-
question, it
that's
could.
what I'm thinking.
Brian, I think we try to get it. We can't get it. We don't want to stop. None of us want to kill the project, but
Can we request it? Can you,
there's been so many stops and
If that's
starts.
the view of the commission that you want me to do so, then certainly I will.
Well, why don't we just have a discussion?
and if they accept it, then let's rock and roll,
Yeah.
which I don't see why they wouldn't, because
Just have a
they're moving
discussion.
forward with the project.
But don't let this be a,
Okay, I hear,
something that,
I hear you.
I see both sides. I have been talking about this project for a long time, and it's way beyond moving forward. And I don't want to do anything that's going to comprehend.
But
Suggest it to them, talk to them about it, see what they say. And then if they bulk, if start to do the bulk dance or whatever,
He who owns the land controls the destiny, and
this is a $5, $6, $7 million project.
banker,
We will have the conversation. Here's,
Huh?
pardon?
you and I are just,
We just,
we're just.
I mean, I'm seeing two people that are, I think I hear what you're saying.
We will.
Have the conversation.
Have a conversation.
And then Mr. Donaldson and hopefully the representative from Monix will be here Monday. And we can get further update.
And if you can modify the contract, they say, yeah, then do it, and we'll
Yeah.
vote on it. We won't have to do anything other than vote on it. So,
Oh, yeah, if they are agreeable to it, I want to have it ready to go
Right.
Monday.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, on to the next one.
I don't remember discussing that, but John's
Well-
memory is better than mine.
We did,
Maybe.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not worth it. We'll have, you're permitted to have conversations and discussions however you
He
deem
is,
appropriate.
he is 60 now, so.
Well, wait, never argue with the attorney. Now, Mr. Mayor, you and I are the same age, so.
Kyle,
That's the only reason he knows how old you are.
Yeah. All right, 14C.
Okay, so
14D.
give me just a minute to get through this one with you. And I think you're relatively familiar with this, but 925 Lake Elbert Drive, Lake Elbert Park Drive, northeast, about a half-acre residential property owned by Mark Macy. On that property, there's two single-family structures. There's a main home, and then there's an accessory, what they call the cottage house. To the north of it has a swimming pool, both of which were constructed in 1925. Property's been occupied for a number of years by Mark's father, Mr. Tom Macy. In the past several years, the property has been mismanaged, poorly maintained. Going back to 2015, Code Enforcement Division began a series of administrative code enforcement actions against Mark Macy as owner and the property for violations of the minimal property maintenance standards. You can see there's 4 pictures here that kind of give you a good idea of what it looks like. That big green thing up in the right-hand corner is a swimming pool. So, as a result of the violations, the code enforcement magistrate has assessed the sum of $84,831.11 in fines and costs against Mark Macy, all of which attached to the 925 Lake Elbert Park Drive property as a city lien. The city's lien continues to increase by the amount of $125 daily until the property is brought into compliance. So as part of our ongoing efforts with code enforcement, staff from code compliance, police department, fire department inspected the property in 2022, determined that it was being illegally used by Tom Macy, who's the tenant, as a rental and rooming and boarding house in violation of the city's zoning ordinance, the Florida Building Code, the Florida Fire Prevention Code, and the Florida Life Safety Code. On August 18th of last year, the building division and the fire department closed the property to occupancy on an emergency basis for outstanding emergency violations of the Florida Building Code, Fire Prevention Code, Life Safety Code. In fact, I think one of those pictures, if you'll go back, AJ, I think where it's posted, that may be one of the photos from when that actually occurred. Charlie, does that look familiar to you? So recent inspections, I'm sorry, back up a second. That same day, several occupants from that property were instructed to leave by Mark Macy as the owner and issued trespass warnings by our police department. There was probably 20+ people living on that property at one point in different, in the basement, in the attic, in tents on the property, in abandoned cars, in just deplorable conditions. Recent inspections by city staff confirmed that the property is again being illegally used as a rental or rooming house, and illegal occupancies on the property have resumed. There have been 2 fires of unknown origin in this area, one of which consumed a nearby structure immediately to the, I guess it's going to say the lake side of this box that you see there. So down where it says 2A and 2B, if you'll come down, AJ, towards the lake, right in there, that's what we call the carriage house that caught on fire back in late November, early December, fully consumed that structure. And then about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had a fire of a massive banyan tree in the front yard of this that we fought for 2+ days and eventually had to bring in an outside contractor to remove this tree. And it's a tree trunk on this was probably 8 feet diameter. We don't know the causes of these fires, but certainly all the activity there, it's cause for concern. Because the property appears to meet legal qualifications as a nuisance structure under Florida law, and further because the city is owed a significant sum in accrued administrative fines and costs, Mr. Murphy's office was instructed by staff to proceed with preparing and filing a foreclosure action against the property and its owners. So that draft legal action began in October, sought a declaration of nuisance by the circuit court and an order of abatement, foreclosure of the city's code enforcement liens, foreclosure of any equitable judicial lien for nuisance abatement costs and expenses, a monetary judgment against Mark Macy as the owner of the property, and an injunction against Mark Macy, Tom Macy, and all occupants of the property from using the property in violation of Florida law and the code of the city. Since the drafting of that legal action, the city's attorney's office has been able to negotiate a comprehensive pre-suit settlement agreement with Mark Macy. So in summary, what was basically going on is we were moving towards foreclosure on this, given the magnitude of liens, the condition of the property, the ongoing problems with it, the life safety issues that are happening there. And in advance of that moving forward, city attorney's office was able to negotiate a pre-suit settlement with Mark Macy as the owner. So under that settlement, Macy will agree to sell that property at 925 Lake Elbert Park Drive to the city for a sum of $75,000. The bulk of that, approximately $55,000 to $60,000, will be used to satisfy a house mortgage that has seniority and to pay outstanding real estate tax obligations. So there is a mortgage assigned to that property that has to be paid off. Property will be free and clear of all liens, encumbrances, occupancies, and defects in title except for liens arising from the city's code compliance matters. Macy will agree to release the city from any disputes, claims, or cases that he may have arising out of his ownership and operation of the property. And the city will agree to release Mark Macy in his personal capacity only to any disputes, cases, and claims the city may have arising out of his ownership and operation of the property. It is anticipated by city staff that the city will be able to successfully close the property and eliminate the current nuisance uses that are affecting the surrounding properties and neighborhoods. Basically, we are at the point that we can foreclose on it, or we can go through the settlement agreement, which certainly is to our benefit. We're dealing with a major issue in a neighborhood that's affecting all the residents around there. When you have other properties that you have a fire in one house, you have, it's connected, adjacent property, you have a tree in the front yard of this, you have trash that has been piling up, and we're out there collecting just massive loads of garbage. This is something that no neighbor, no resident should have to live next to or deal with. And as you saw, this has been going on for roughly 7 years. The direct financial impact of the city will be the expected payment of the property purchase price of $75,000 plus nominal closing expenses. In addition, the city's outstanding fines and liens totaling over $84,000 at present are expected to merge into the city's fee simple title to the property upon acquisition. Staff estimates the agreement will ultimately be financially beneficial to the city by saving the city the time associated with foreclosure proceedings, cost of legal expenses associated with prosecuting the foreclosure, and the cost of city staff time related to future expected code enforcement, law enforcement, fire, code enforcement matters occurring prior to the entry of a final judgment of foreclosure. So what we're going to be recommending to you with this item is that the commission approve the settlement agreement with Mark Macy and authorize myself and the city attorney and others as necessary to take further action deemed necessary to do so. So this is the settlement. Now, jumping ahead, second item in this portion, item 14D, is the actual purchase agreement. Basically spells out the same information that I just went over with you. Again, a $75,000 cost, just some of the terms and conditions with that, within 5 days of us signing that agreement. And Mr. Macy has already signed the settlement agreement on his side. He is agreeable to that we will make a deposit with the escrow account at the city attorney's office. Closing is expected to occur 20 days following the effective date of the agreement. Our costs of $75,000, I spoke with Cal Bowen a few weeks back on this. This will be paid from our contingency reserves within the current year's budget, which has a present balance of just shy of $140,000. This is not fund balance. This is contingency reserves that we designate within the actual budget, where we made some cuts at the end of the year. We still had the same revenue amounts, so we have the dollars to acquire this. Upon acquiring it, the house will be demoed, property will be secured, and then we will have an opportunity to process a future purchase sale agreement with somebody that would like to develop that property for housing in that area. It's more suitable and better managed.
Commissioner Birdsong.
I was just wondering till you answered part of the question. I know the house would be demoed. What about the food?
Everything would have to be demoed. And the first thing that we would do upon securing the property, of acquiring the property, is get it secured. Just fence it in, because it's going to take a little bit of time. And we're going to have some cost associated with the demolition of this. Tanya Ayers, our Safe Neighborhoods Manager, is here. Tanya, you come forward if you would, please. She has been in anticipation of this, identifying, what some of those costs might be with demolition.
Good evening. I have not done a demolition of quite of this magnitude because it does have the large cement pool and the basement. So I believe that this demolition is going to cost us at a minimum $20,000. And there's probably asbestos involved. So it is going to be an expensive demolition, but based on my inspections and the building officials' determination, that's really the only option that we have when we acquire this property.
The other thing I would say, the benefit that happens with acquisition, whether by settlement agreement or by foreclosure, and perhaps a benefit to the community as a whole is reestablishing some right of way that is within that area. That allows for proper and more available ingress egress. There's other houses that are immediately adjacent to this. There's vacant land that's to be developed with residential property. Excuse me. And there's a historic right of way through there that has never been paved or prepared as a roadway that needs to be. So there's a lot of benefit that comes from not just cleaning up the house, but improving some of the infrastructure in that area as well. For just the historical perspective, if any of you are familiar with, had the pleasure of working with Testall and know where Testall's house was, that is one of the houses that's adjacent to this. So that gives you a general area.
Commissioner Yates got a question.
Couple questions, and that was touching on one of them. Do you think it's gonna be possible to get this to be an actual road as it should be and a paved road?
AJ, is there an image with this one? Or is it just with the fact sheet? So where you see it says Lake Elbert Park Drive. AJ, can I have your mouse and I'll drive it from here? if that's Okay. Okay, so. All right, so this is the Macy property here. The carriage house that burned is, I think it's more than just this 025 property. I think it expands to this one as well. Lake Elbert Park Drive comes off of Lake Elbert Drive due north, northwest, I guess. There's a residential property here and a residential property here. The road basically stops right here. This road is unimproved through here, but it is accessible. This is how the property owner that lives in this parcel presently accesses. This is a house or a vacant lot that was purchased by another individual to put residential on. There is basically a dirt road that comes up. It looks like a long driveway. So Commissioner Yates' belief is that yes, if this is, survey this out, you could put that road in there. It is, just a local road. It's going to be a minimum right of way designation, width, just so we can get access through it.
I think that would serve the homeowners there and everyone involved. I mean, I think that would be a positive thing to actually make that road to what it was originally intended to be, which is an approved road through there. My next question is, rather than using contingency funds, could we not use our affordable housing trust funds to acquire this property, which would essentially help us earmark this property for affordable housing in the future?
Yes.
I'm just looking at this property and with what we're going to invest in it. I don't know anybody that's gonna be, I'm just saying, the cost of affordable housing on.
I'm not saying we would put the
No, no.
affordable house, but
Just saying,
But-
anybody that would wanna do it,
well,
it's not gonna be,
no, but Hartford Winter Haven has 4 houses that they're begging for property for.
oh.
Yeah,
if we give it away.
Here's what
I'm not saying that we give it away.
Okay,
Right.
all right.
If we want to go down that road,
We'll have a line from here to
no.
line it up for.
So my thought on that would be to actually split this up, put the homes out there, it retains in city possession, and then we lease out each parcel that goes for a house for a 20-year lease at $100 a month or whatever it may be. But we would continue to own this land going forward. But rather than use the funds in reserves, I just think it kind of helps earmark this for affordable housing going forward is my thought.
Here's what I might suggest.
You thinking out the box, and I hadn't thought out that.
I think there's a lot of options of what would happen post acquisition. Certainly our plan or our request tonight and Monday night will be the settlement agreement and the purchase and sale agreement. I think that Commissioner Yates, if we certainly can move forward is I've crafted coming from the reserve balances that we have or the contingency reserve. And I'm looking to Cal through as much as I can around the podium. I would think that if our end use of it was to be aligned with affordable housing, we
Re-
could simply make a journal
Replenish.
entry, transfer at that point to reimburse the reserve balance, the contingency reserve, with a payment from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So I think we can do what you're saying we would want to do there, but we don't necessarily need to do that right now.
No, and it just was part of the overall equation was within those comments. So I think ultimately we have a great opportunity here. I think you could put 4 homes here pretty easily. And they're all affordable housing and so that moves us forward in our mission to provide more affordable housing to the community.
Workforce housing.
I think one of the issues that, as the city manager noted, we'll have to sort out is getting that right of way reestablished in an appropriate legal
Yeah.
way. Right now, the property appraiser has it notated as that in her records, but that doesn't legally mean that there was a dedicated road and that it was accepted back when the plat was recorded. So there's some legal processes that will need to be perfected. But certainly the goal would be to do that.
Because my concern just goes to, okay, the owner to the left owns both of those parcels. So they may get the idea, well, let me go acquire this parcel and I'll private develop that and we've lost our opportunity for affordable housing or any other options there because.
That's the nice thing about owning it. Is that
Hey,
we
what did I
control-
say earlier?
Yeah, oh yeah. That's the nice thing about this particular outcome is that we end up owning it
He who owns the land controls the destiny, right?
I heard that somewhere.
for this purpose.
This purpose.
I see that on
A
the,
good lawyer would
Must have been
say.
the other day. I don't recall.
two questions. Number one, is the mortgage current? Are we bailing out a bank or do we know if the mortgage
It's
is
Bank of America, I believe. Don't hold me to that. It's a home equity line of credit. And
current?
he's, and
are they foreclosing or are we?
no, they're not to my knowledge. We've done a title search and there's no foreclosure yet. And Mr. Macy, Mark Macy has represented that, you know, he would like for that to be paid off. But they're not foreclosing as of yet.
Okay.
That's why we want to move forward with this. Get
Then
them paid
this
off.
is a question for either Eric or Tanya. What's the value of that land as a vacant lot? Is it worth 75 grand or do you have any way of knowing or? Put your appraisal hat on real quick.
Generally parcels, this is a larger parcel than normal. I've seen 50-foot wide parcels, vacant lands. Similar to this, well north of 50.
We've an established neighborhood like this, with
Yeah.
trees. We could probably get our money back and then the money would go back into the general fund or would it go back into where would the
You could
money go?
decide wherever you.
Decide at that point, yeah, and again, getting the money back is certainly we want to break even or, you know, if you even came back better than you went in.
Well,
But the cost of delay is going to be even greater.
Yeah, we're going to be over 100,000 before this. is
Yeah.
done.
The
Easily.
the 2 parcels to the left sold for 47,000 in 2021. And those are vacant parcels.
47, but they're not big, but we could theoretically be made whole. Right, clean up a problem and get our money back, that's what we so choose. Probably. not. But it's definitely gonna be over 100,000. I mean, both cities all said,
The,
that's.
and the cost, you know, just to be on fire watch basically with this property. You know, constantly diverting our public safety resources to go check the property because you don't know what's happening on it. And you know you've had problems with it. We're
Are we getting lots and lots of complaints, Tanya, from all the neighbors? Is this just a constant headache for you guys? Or-
Yes, this has been a headache for years, and at this point, we get calls on a weekly basis. And one thing to kind of keep in mind here too, is whenever we did our inspection, there were people living in the attic. And this is not an attic where it has the pull down ladder. This is an attic where you just take a a regular, extendable ladder and you put it up there and it's rickety and unsafe. And a fire in that house, no one could escape that attic. The floor joists are eat up with or termite or not termites, they're rotted out. You've got people living underneath the house. So, you know, it is a situation where if a fire were to occur, we're probably going to have loss of life, at least in that home. So really public safety here is paramount in protecting the occupants of this property. And I know that there's a cost associated with acquiring it, but you know, the cost of the life that we'd be saving, you know, is.
Okay. So when is it closed?
We got to vote on it Monday night.
I mean,
Well,
after that, how
20 days.
20 days,
how many?
20 days. And there are, yeah, and
So how soon could we secure it?
Um,
actually, we're in process right now is a writ of possession matter that Mr. Mark Macy has initiated.
Okay,
And so, yeah, I don't know, but that has been delayed because of some scrivener's errors, but at the end of the day, Mr. Macy, Mark Macy, has given the city authority to do what it needs to do
oh,
on that property.
That writ of possession, city attorney speaks of this, so this does not involve the city. This is a issue between Mr. Macy, Mark Macy is the owner of the property and the tenants live there. And it will be basically to clear everybody from that property, at which point we have the authority per Mark Macy to go in and secure that.
If we haven't technically closed it, but our goal is to close it as soon as possible.
Anybody else?
Close.
Okay, well, we will vote on this, 14C and 14D on Monday night, so. All right, commissioners, anything else for the good of the order? T, Mike?
I think for my first official meeting, this has been a pretty heavy.
Yeah, you did a good job. Didn't miss a beat.
We didn't want you sneaking out of here without your fine. I mean,
well, you feel welcome.
Trying to figure out where your book was, you weren't flipping through. so.
Oh,
Yeah, he's a techie. John, you got anything?
I'm all good. Thank you, Mayor.
Vanessa? All right, we're adjourned. We'll see you Monday night.
Thank you.